All right. Welcome to Timeless Personal Growth and Development, and today we're talking about boredom and why it's good. It's very good, even though it doesn't feel good. But what is boredom from a brain standpoint? What is it? It's a lack of dopamine, is what that is. When we're bored and we're looking for stuff to do, it's because we need a dopamine hit. We need something to stimulate our brains. There's a lack of stimulation in our brain that we need to hit. So we turn to many different things, some healthy, some unhealthy, to get that dopamine hit. A lot of the time, though, it is very unhealthy, or where we want to get our dopamine hit and where we want to fix our boredom. But sometimes it's okay to be bored. Because you know what? When you're bored, what happens when you're bored and you really have nothing to do? Your creativity kicks in. And your imagination kicks in. And then you discover and start doing things you never thought you would do. Like this channel. I started this channel 2 years ago when the pandemic hit. Why did I start this channel? Because I was bored. I had nothing to do. I was locked down. I wasn't going to work. Everything shut down in my life. I was bored. So I started this channel. And look, 2 years later, I'm still kicking it. Awesome, great. And I found a great hobby that I get to engage in like twice a week. And I found it because of boredom. Thank you, COVID. Awesome. Great. Thank you very much. But we don't like being bored because it's not a good feeling. We always want that. You always want that next kick, that next dopamine hit. And we end up using our phones a lot to fix that boredom problem. And I'm going to do a video on this next week about phone addiction and why it's so problematic and how to overcome phone addiction. But every time, I like to call it the in-between moments. When, let's say you go to the gym and then you have an hour or so to go to work. You've done all your responsibilities. You've done your laundry. You ate. You took a shower. You have nothing to do. Oh, what are we going to do? I go on my phone for the next half hour before I go to work. Though that period of time is your in-between moment. You've done all the things you have to do. You're trying to look for something to fill that half hour. Instead of just finding something a little more productive to do. And just, sometimes it's okay to just sit on the couch and just be a person and just sit and stare at the wall, or go outside on the balcony and just sit in the sun and just be in your own head for a half hour, 20 minutes. But these things, these phones, and you can use like the computer, you can use video games, Netflix, we're always trying to fill that space and fill that in-between moment because we're bored, there's nothing to do, and we need a dopamine hit. And it can go into a very unhealthy territory when the dopamine hit, when you're so used to that hit, but that hit doesn't become strong enough through video games, your phone, junk food, drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever it is. And it gets to the point where like nothing stimulates you. Like, so you go into unhealthy territory with like insane amounts of drugs and alcohol to fix that. Where it doesn't feel good to be bored, but you know what? It's okay. It's a good thing. Like, you don't always need to be like taking your phone everywhere you go. And you see it on the metros, you see it on the bus, you see it even when you go to the doctor's office, when you go to the dentist. Those waiting rooms are the worst. When people are in the waiting room at the dentist, what are people doing? Waiting for their appointment, waiting to be called in. What are they doing? Everyone's on their phone. Everybody is on their phone instead of just sitting or reading a magazine. You know, well, because I don't like it. It's boring, you know, just kind of sitting there and looking around and looking at people. But try that. Next time you're in a waiting room in a doctor's office, try just sitting and just watch people. Observe people. Observe human behavior. Not in a weird way, not in a creepy way, of course, but just allow yourself to stop reaching for that phone and allow that moment of boredom to take you and see where that moment of boredom takes you. You don't know when it takes you because you haven't allowed yourself to dive into that boredom, to constantly be in that state of boredom because you don't know where it'll take you. Like I said a few minutes ago, boredom helped me build this channel. Essentially, I became a better cook because of boredom, because of the pandemic, because of the lockdowns. Because I was bored. I needed new stuff to do, you know? Screens weren't interesting to me anymore. It's boring, and I don't think it's very healthy. Instead of doing what everybody else does, especially in social situations, when we're bored and we become comfortable and we don't want to talk to somebody, what does everybody do? Go for a phone. Because it's that in-between bored moment that we need to fix. I'm bored. I don't know what to do with myself. Oh, well, look, 100 years ago we didn't have these phones. Even 25 years ago we didn't have these phones. And what do we do during that period of time when we were bored? We'd go outside and play. We'd go play in the woods. I have rules for myself when I go to my cottage. Is I try as much as possible. I don't always succeed, but I try as much as possible. Turn the Wi-Fi off your phone and just go. Go out into the woods. Go out in the woods and do something. Because that's what we're made to do. We're not made to be in front of a screen. Oh, you know, we tell our kids all the time. When we tell our kids, we kind of like throw stuff at our kids because they say like, oh, no. Dad, Mom, I'm bored, there's nothing to do. Okay, here's a screen. Here's a tablet. Here's an iPad. Here's a phone. My son's like about 5 weeks old, so he's obviously too young for that, but when he comes up to me like, Dad, I'm bored, there's nothing to do. Go outside, go play with a stick. Go play hide and seek, go do something, go run around. Be creative. Allow that boredom to hit you. And allow it to take you to a place of creativity and do something creative and do something you wouldn't normally do. 3 years ago, I started becoming more of an avid reader because I thought it was just a little more interesting and I enjoyed it, and it's more relaxing than screens. And yeah, we live in the culture now, and our habits now is, oh, we worked all day, we did our exercises, we did our homework. What do we do now? We had dinner. Okay, it's time for a movie. It's time for screen time. Well, 100 years ago, we didn't have movies and TVs and like, you know, you pay 50 cents to go to the theater, to go to the pictures, as they would call it, and that was it. What did people do 100 years ago at night when they were done their day of work and relaxing with their families? What did they do? They read books. They talked to each other. They engaged each other in conversation. And that was it. Well, we constantly need that distraction all the time. Distraction from our own head. I'm not saying you should be in your head all the time because that's not healthy either. There's a proper balance to it, but you should allow yourself to be in your head a little bit at times, and stop looking to fix every single second of boredom when you have that down moment where there's nothing to do. Break that reflexive response of I gotta go for a screen. I gotta go eat something. I'm bored. I need food. No, you don't. It's all psychological. You're just doing it because you need a dopamine hit. Realize that boredom and just force yourself to just sit. Go sit outside if it's more comfortable, and just allow yourself to be bored for a bit until you decide to go do something that engages your mind in a more healthy way, instead of always looking for that next dopamine hit and constantly get constant stimulation all the time. When you're not getting that stimulation, oh, you're gonna go find it in other ways. That's the issue with ADHD amongst children now, is that it's not because children have a hard time focusing. Kids with ADHD can focus, have great focus on a subject that's of interest to them. If a child with ADHD is on a subject that's not of interest to them, they can't focus, because it's a dopamine function of the brain, dopamine malfunction of the brain. When they're engaged in a activity that's fun and engaging and gives them that dopamine hit, like video games, movies, their phones, then that's of interest to them. But the problem is with parents is every time their child is bored or needs some sort of stimulation, here's a tablet, here's a phone. Well, that's where the ADHD starts, when you build that habit, instead of allowing your kids to actually be bored a little bit and forcing them to find a healthy creative activity that actually helps them. You're not always responsible for entertaining your children. They can entertain themselves, and teach them to entertain themselves in a healthy way, and don't throw them in a screen every time they complain to you that they're bored, because that's just going to create more problems and more problems with their attention and with their focus. And remember that it's okay at times to be bored, because it stimulates that creativity in your brain. And actually enforcing yourself to push yourself through that boredom and that creativity will stabilize your focus and the balance of the dopamine in your brain. Remember that. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe. Timeless Personal Growth and Development. And I'll see you next week. I'll be doing a video on actually getting more in depth about phone addiction, why it's a problem, and what can we do to fix that problem. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.